Yeah, first time you run this, looks like nothing happens. Oh, something's happening. 5 seconds later, 10 seconds, 5 seconds. Yeah, we get the window. Okay, look at this. Prompt, autofilled with a watercolor sketch boat by Mary Blair. That could be interesting. Just keep hitting this button for new, fresh ideas. Um, infographic illustration banana by Greg Withowski. Okay, so rather than just running this, because we've all hit the button and sat there and been like, wait, why didn't I just do something better? Um, Prompt in Lexica. That button, hit it, then it'll just take that prompt and search it in Lexica, and then we can say something a little more specific. Yeah, this guy. Soft Greek sculpture of a banana painted by James. Oh yeah, so this is got all those extra details in there. That's fantastic, awesome. I'm gonna do that, and I want the size to be not 512 by 512 like everybody else doing this stuff, and the rest of the settings are cool. So long prompts. Yeah, so generate, and you can watch over here. Takes a second. Boom. Nice. This window isn't currently resized correctly. I need to fix that on here. It does resize over here, image to image. So we'll just go ahead and say we like that. We'll send that to image. Awesome. And then now this is auto filled out typography art train by Salvador Dali. Yeah, let's just say typography art. No, typography art train. Yeah, that's crazy. You got all the same settings here. You can randomize the seed. Image to image, it's best to randomize the seed. You can auto randomize, but if you're going to image, you don't want the exact same seed. This was already random, so but yeah, default fills in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Sweet. Yeah, so we got a random seed here that's different. These settings don't matter if there's already an image here. This is for when rendering from the scene. Not going to get to that yet. But yeah, you can also prompt from Lexica here, get you different settings. But let's say we like this. Generate. Let it do its thing. Oh, wow. So, typography art train. I don't see a train. I don't see any typography art. Does feel weird like Salvador Dali though. So the big thing here is start schedule. You see I actually have it in this totally separate setting than everything else. Start schedule. This is basically the higher the value, the more the prompt. The lower the value, the more the image. So if you're kind of trying to balance those two. So let's crank it up a little bit and regenerate. So, did not work. It's just ugly. So this could be a situation where we just want more steps to get it happening. Could also just be, let's get a new seed. Sometimes you just get those stinker images. Running through. Oh, I'm batch rendering. Oh, shit. That's the wrong button. Oh, kills me. It really does kill me. Let's try that again. Topography art. Yeah, watch out for the batch render button. Yeah, so we wanted higher, yeah, these settings. Yeah. Not to batch render. Currently with the batch render, it doesn't refresh the UI as it's running through. It just kind of like locks up and just does its thing. Boom! Now we're getting Salvador Dali in here. Awesome. Yeah. Send that back to image, just run something else on it. Watercolor sketch cat by Salvador Dali. Now we're gonna get really crazy. We'll pull this back. We already got some Salvador Dali in there, right? Generate that. Anyway, this is just silly. You can see this is very fun to just like get random crap. Sometimes it's not great, but it only took you 2 seconds, so what's the big deal? Yeah, and so at this point, this is just like every other Stable Diffusion thing out there for the most part. You know, it doesn't have, it has more, you know, image features probably than some things, and less than probably most these days. You know, but you know, the start schedule is nice to have here. A lot of things don't necessarily give you that control. But that's not all. One you already saw. There's this batch render, and so you would not just batch render a random image here. You could randomize the seed and then batch render, and it's going to be however many frames you have down here, and then it would just, that's basically a way to render like a batch size of like, you know, whatever. This would be 200 images. Let's say we just want 20, right? Now we got our 20, 21 starting at 0 images. So yeah, we could just do that just to get a bunch of randoms, but it's not helpful, really. This image I can save, you know, right here, and it's going to take me to my source images. Still figuring out if that's the best place, but it's going to be whatever project you have set. It's the workspace directory, source images. So yeah, I could save this. Dali banana. Ah, it was the cat, but anyway. But yeah, so this is the kind of Stable Diffusion basic non-Maya part of it. You know, prompts up here. To set your own prompts, I don't have the open and save. I'm trying to figure out exactly the best way to do all this business, but you can just come into the script as of right now and just set up all the prompts. So this I need to change the name. This is styles, and then there's subjects, and then the artists. I'll do that right now. So prompts. It's actually, we're gonna call these styles. Styles. Replace. Oh yeah, right there. We do want styles. And replace for that one. It's prompt size. That should be style size. Getting to see behind the scenes how the sausage is made. Okay. And yeah, it's gonna be the same thing here. It's in 2 places currently. Which is not great. And then we're gonna call it style size. So this is going to change soon. I want to make it where you can just save them out and have a JSON. You see, it's like a JSON basically format. And so then you just have like one file that you can just dump in a bunch of things you like, or have it so that yeah, you can write to it from here, and then maybe like, you know, you can just plus like add styles, add subjects, or add artists. You know, it's to be seen. I mean, how it's kind of nice to just get something stood up really quickly, just for fun. You know, it's literally just, there's not like a really production use for having a random artist being thrown. Like your project is gonna all of a sudden be designed by Mary Blair instead of Greg Rosowski. Uh, anyway, but yeah, it's fun. It keeps things fun. I like playing with it. So, right. I made that change, but that's just over here. So that's just for me. We're not rerunning this yet. Yeah. So yeah, that's how you would add them currently. Need to fix that up. Stay tuned. But yeah, and then this thing right here. I mean, I actually like this one more than this one. You know, I think this one we kind of got a little whack. So I'm gonna send this to extras, and this is where all the Maya specific stuff is. Things that actually let you interact with your scene. So what I'm gonna do is just like assign to polyplane, and then here it is. Amazing. So it's going to have a polyplane that's the size of your image, just scaled correctly, you know. Once you start to try and, as of right now, there's no like help for UVs, so it creates a polyplane and then it sets the height and width of it right here, but we don't have any subdivisions. So what you may find as soon as you want to do anything with it is that you're like, okay, I want to apply a bin deformer on this and make it like a world wrap. So as soon as I add divisions to it, my UVs get whacked, and then you've got to go into the UV editor and like doot UV shell, give me the UV shell, and then yeah, you've got to go do the whole business. Let's align and snap it to the center and whoop. Okay, good enough. And now we've got it back and we can do something fun with it. I don't know. Let's just say, like I was saying, non-linear like bin deformer, you know, boom. Gonna add a curve to it. That's awesome. And gotta rotate this guy to get into somewhere that's interesting. Let's say we're gonna make it 90 degrees. And yeah, got a Salvador Dali cat thing. Yeah, so right now, see, I said that when I wanted to send this one to extras, it sent this one. There is an error with that. This is writing to the same file, which is bullshit. So that is to be fixed. That is a very big thing. I should fix that right away. Uh, yeah. Anyway, but if we send this one to extras, this one is separate. Good to know. Good to know. Yeah. It's just these guys that are whack. So cool. What else can we do with it? The plan is to make it where you can apply to as an image plane to any camera that you have. Like if you have a shot cam, you want to have a background for it. Boom, that's something. If you want to create a free floating image plane, right now that's what this does. But yeah, so if I just uh, hit this, it's just a free floating image plane, not under the perspective. That has got to get fixed, and it's also not scaled correctly. You can see. So need to fix all that up. But it's getting there. So this is the area of where all the Maya useful things are going to be, like for building a scene with textures and stuff created with this, but it's also the least developed right now. So the plan is to be able to create just shaders of your choice and assign to things like you have selected. And yeah, you can save the image from here. Same thing, it's going to go to your source images for the project set. Bake textures unselected. I got a big idea of, instead of doing something like just creating a normal texture like this, I think it will probably end up being really dope to, let's say I want just a surface shader, but for the actual surface shader here, the out color, let's say I want to project a file, and then this will be whatever. Let's just grab a image, and so then now we have this 3D texture. We can project, which is fun, do some wild stuff, and then the idea is that once you've got something you like here, then you'll just bake that into its UV set here. So yeah, if you have this is where if you have you create a character and it looks awesome, or let's say you create, the way I see this working is you would have a scene. Let's say you build out a scene with a couple of real basic boys, um, you know, and it's feeling pretty great. And then what you do is, I guess, now I need to explain really how this whole thing works. So the idea here is that you can render stuff from your scene. Let's make it more fatty. And then apply image to image to it. Topography Art Banana by Mary Blair. It's not going to be good with how simple this is. And so, awesome. And then I send to extras, create this, project onto what I have here, and then I'll get stuck on here. But you can see that this actually isn't really respecting this right here. And the real value, I think, of using Maya for Stable Diffusion to create 3D art assets, I'm thinking, we'll see, is masking. So if I say use masking, auto create mask, auto invert mask, by default, what the mask is the alpha, and so then what has an alpha doesn't get changed. So if we want the things that are there to get changed and the background that doesn't have an alpha to not get changed, then we just invert it. So now when I render, you'll see this, but it updates this guy right here. I can invert if I want to. So what is white doesn't get changed. So now all the background would be messed with, but then again, it's just feeding in 0 data. So then it's just going to, Stable Diffusion is not going to be super happy with it. So anyway, right here, white doesn't change, black does. Right here, now if I generate this, it's only going to let Stable Diffusion mess with the white area. And so in this example, that worked out terribly. Minimalist line drawing trained by Mary Blair. Maybe this will be something more interesting. But yeah, Stable Diffusion, gotta mess with the settings. There we go. Cool. So minimalist line drawing. It's pretty basic. Yeah. Okay, dokie. Wow. How did that looks like that just changed. Am I crazy? Okay. Yeah. So yeah, and then maybe now with this, that's more like that. I can go back through my camera and then project from a specific camera down onto a set of objects. That's the plan. So right now you'd basically just manually do this. Save this image to wherever you'd like, and then create a projection and node and assign it to the things you want to influence, and then go in and have to do all the madness of rendering, lighting and shading, transfer maps, and then get it all from here, I believe is the way to do it. I haven't really messed with it too much. I don't really typically mess with that sort of stuff, so I got some things to learn as far as optimizing that workflow. But yeah, at least you got this in Maya. It's based on what your camera is seeing, and it's using the mask, so you should be able to do that if you're the person that wants to go do that. So yeah, still a big work in progress thing here. I find that if I just want to quickly make a scene that has something interesting in it, and I don't care about this masking, so if I just don't care about masking, what's kind of nice is be able to just create this gradient skybox. And so now, it lets me just have something in the background, so I don't have to go and mess around. So not the most interesting gradient there, but I can select that, and yeah, maybe we just give it the old rainbow treatment, and yeah, now we've got something like that. And you know what? Since the field of view is not so huge, we can just try this, and then now maybe this is what we've been dying for. We've been really hoping to capture. Incredible. And from this, Paper Quilling Fantasy Landscape by Ivan Durrell. God, that's gonna be sick. We'll see. I just think that's so silly. Yeah, look at that. Fantasy landscape. Where'd the cat come from? Oh, landscape cat. Let's take that out. Yeah, I gotta work on that prompts business. So yeah, I mean, you can see it's definitely taking its influence. It's trying to look like paper quilling. Let's see if we went a little deeper into the prompt. what we get. Interesting. Very interesting. Yeah, send to extras, apply to polypilling, and I've got myself a wonderful background now to start animating my awesome, cool animation to. Yeah, I mean, I can even, what's kind of interesting is, you can do something like, now that you have this, animate this, a small camera pan over this business, and so then we can get to the next part of this, which I think is fairly interesting, and probably what is the most useful thing. So I've really buried the lead here. Where'd my window go? Oh, here it is. Restore. So, image to image batch. So you got your output settings right here. It's gonna create a folder. This batch name is just a folder it creates inside of this directory, and then this is the name of the images plus the frame number. So awesome demo is gonna be the name of the images and the name of the folder. Yeah, and there ain't much to it, y'all. Let's see, am I getting the renders? Sometimes yeah, so this is rendering, it looks great. I'm gonna say Paper Quilling Fantasy Landscape by Ivan Durrell. We're gonna let that still be pretty crazy. And then, yeah, no masking. Don't want none of that. Not a random seed. Just to try and keep a same seed so that it's like it feels consistent as we're moving across it. These things are flickery enough, which is kind of a point to make is that right now, well, you'll see, go ahead and batch, that these animations are good for about one thing, and that's just tripping out, looking weird. But yeah, so you can see it's right now it doesn't refresh the UI as it's running through. I definitely want it to, but you can see that the background is updating, which I also want that to freeze. But yeah, it's you can see we're stepping through. We're on frame 4 already, and if I just go to my source images, which I should have grabbed that directory earlier, but I bet I can find it pretty easily. Source images, and then there's going to be a folder here, my awesome demo, and then this is where all those images are getting added. So look at that, pretty nifty. Can you imagine actually making a stop motion animation where every frame is a completely separate set of paper quilling? It's called quilling, paper quilling, I think it's called. Crazy old origami foldy things. Pretty fun. So there we go. We got ourselves a little animation coming along. We got 6 frames. So this frame's kind of a stinker. It doesn't really have what's going on. So what's really nice is that once this is done, sometimes you'll get those blurry frames. What's nice is once this is done, then I can just set this batch folder to being the directory, and then just render re-render that frame with a little bit of different settings, and it'll just overwrite what's here. So you can kind of go through and just do maybe like what I've seen is like in 200 frames, I'll have probably 3 frames that are just straight blurry. And so if you can re-render that, and manually, it's not ideal, but you can try and bring a little more consistency. So like it'll be interesting to see how this thing works. Like, ooh, yeah, that's fun. I mean, it's classic. You got the moon that just pops in here, and then it pops to the other side. Not ideal. Then it gets bigger. Really interesting. Yeah, so yeah, this whole entire thing we're seeing, like the environment is just an image that we're just panning over. And yeah, I mean, of course, you can just have a full animated scene in Maya, which is probably what you want to do, right? Is just having, if you're an animator, have your scene, and then this is just like a fancy AI renderer that just screws everything up and looks trippy. I think it's really great for um, just making trippy stuff, obviously, but that's about it. So 1 frame left. Oh wait, no, it actually doesn't render the last frame, so that's messed up. But if I go ahead and open this with Fcheck, and then open animation. There we go. 20 frame animation. Probably be cooler if it was like 10 FPS. Yeah. Nifty. Yeah. What I was trying to say is I think it's basically good for work, like making something turn into something else in the way that like maybe people might like swap rigs and have crazy VFX do sort of things like that. If you can isolate, like if you have a character that you want to, whatever, Dracula just turn into a bunch of bats and fly away, or Batman or something, right? You could possibly take an animation, make it you can like render it, first, just like, however, and then go back and then isolate just the Batman, render that for a few frames with the masking on. So we're just doing that, and just type like bats, and then it'll come out, and then have like a particle system. If you did like an animation where it's like Batman, then a particle system just that flies over, then you could make it look like he goes from that to a shit ton of bats flying around like crazy. It would have to be like a fast action, of course, but it could make something that looks really cool. Like, just, it's still very psychedelic, but um, yeah, it could be cool, used as like an effect for specific things. Yeah, I mean, you could also just make a cool, like, I don't know, um, animation from like some of the meditation apps and stuff, just some kind of nice, cool, trippy little thing. Anyway, I imagine there's gonna be a ton of videos that are like distinct from this era of animation where we're just all this flickery kind of warpy craziness, and so harness it for what it's good at, which is being trippy, and yeah, and have fun with it. I think that's basically it. All there is to say right now. So, work in progress. This is going to be entirely open source forever. I'm thinking about, I don't know whether it's MIT licensed or GNU licensed. So, I just don't want I just want people to be able to use it, and make awesome stuff, um, forever for free. So what I didn't show was the setup. Yeah, so the setup is basically this ugly settings thing. First time user, if you're on Windows, take this, run it. Um, I'm thinking about making this a button, first time setup only, where it runs this thing. Um, and then you need to set the API key for using this. This is running off of Dream Studio. So if you go to the website for Dream Studio, boom, you go to API key, and then you copy from right here, and then under set API key, paste that bad boy in, and boom, now you're ready to go. If you don't do that at first, it's just going to error and say, hey, sorry, no API key. And then you can see, obviously, if you go back to that website, that this costs money. It's 1 penny for every generation that you make. So I'm at the point right now where I'm even with batching and stuff. The batching is where you're going to start using a lot. You're like, oh, I got a simple 5-second animation. It's like hundreds of frames. it's going to cost $2. Watch out. But yeah, I mean, what the nice thing about this is it's just all it's all running on their servers, their computers, and not yours. So if you got like a shitty little laptop, a stinky little laptop, you're good to go. Also, I have this in here, image to image Google Collab. It's kind of exploring the idea of using this more, which is a Google Collab that someone else has posted. Connect to your Google Drive, and then what it does is it looks at a specific folder that you've set up that's on your Google Drive, and whenever you hit render, it writes to that, and then this automatically updates from in here. But it's just not so great. It's the exact same thing, but just you can't do any of the other things you want to do. So wouldn't really suggest it. I mean, have fun, play with it, but it's not gonna be able to do anything too great. Yeah, I think that's it. I'd love to hear from people if they have any suggestions as to, how this could go forward. Also, if I want to load an initial image, I can do it from right here. That's the whole reason that's there. Create a new camera, hit refresh box. Gotta fix that up. I would really like to make it so that I can keyframe the start schedule so that you can go from the scene to the prompts back to the scene. Have this as a node that you can keyframe and have a curve like using Maya's like animation graph to go between. That would be badass. That'd be very badass. Working on that one. And also right now, this should be an easy fix, but I don't have the samplers turned on. So I should be using, I think KLMS is good, but it'd be fun to be able to do a bunch of different ones like this. And also it would be fun to add in like sort of how Automatic 1111 has the script setting, so that when you hit render or like generate, you can run a script. And so like XY plot different things. So it could be like, the X is just the different samplers, the Y is like something like that doesn't change, or it could be something that's like no, that doesn't make sense. You just do this as like an X plot, right? You just switch this, and then the Y plot could be start schedule changing or something like that. So it's kind of cool they have that. I think that something like that would be really useful to be able to, because I'll just sit here and I'll play around with the start schedule with different images and then try and figure out what's good. Pull those steps down, and it'd be useful to be able to just hit a button, get a cup of coffee, come back in like 5 minutes, and then be able to see like a grid of like 20 images of like everything that you with all the different samplers, all the different settings, and then from that be like, ooh, I like this, and then just kind of lock that in and go forward. So yeah, that's the roadmap. Yeah, I have this interrupt button in here, but I believe when you just hit batch render, if I just batch render this bad boy, it'll start rendering, and then I can just hit escape, and it should stop. Boom, it stopped. So don't really need that. Although some people might freak out without knowing that, so good to know. I feel like it's pretty intuitive though. Cool. Yeah. So that's it. Loving it. All right.